G'day world, Macca coming to you live from Myriad 2018, proudly brought to you by Everledger and Invest Sunshine Coast. We're here with James. How are you doing today, James?
Really well, thanks.
How are you enjoying Myriad so far?
Myriad's awesome, yeah. It's great to see a whole bunch of people coming together and kind of like actually sharing their skills, sharing their ideas, helping each other solve problems and grow.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
So you enjoying the vibe so far?
Yeah, the vibes are amazing. It's great to see there's the diversity of people. You know, you've got people at the end of their career, people at the beginning of their career, people starting business, people investing in businesses. It's all across the board. So it's really awesome.
And a good mixture of age as well. So there's a lot of youngsters here.
Absolutely, a lot of youngsters. But you know, there's guys at like retirement age that I've run into, and they're like, you know, it's a huge ecosystem of different people.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff happening. And you know, you just said you got off from doing a speech like 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
How was that?
Yeah, it was really good. Talked a little bit about what I call back to the future, you know, the way I invest, and when I think about starting a business, you know, I use the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and I think, you know, go forward 30 years, what does the world look like, you know? And the big thing for me is if you look at where businesses are today, like, would you think that it made sense 15 years ago to, you know, call a cab company and wait 45 minutes and never know where they are? I mean, you know, today Uber is just going to be ubiquitous. So what if you fast forward 30 years, what's going to be ubiquitous again? What are we doing today that's going to seem really stupid in 30 years' time? So that was kind of the point of my talk.
Yeah, so sort of adding that fictional element to, you know, generating new ideas and innovation, right?
Yeah, well, maybe not the fictional element, but trying to predict what the future looks like. So it's not fiction, but you know, like, what are we going to be doing in, you know, like the concept when you know, 15 years ago you'd sell your house, you'd put an ad in a newspaper, and then someone might look at the newspaper. Or today, where everyone's lists their house on, you know, the web, and people will search on that, and they have live notifications. So, you know, what are we doing in our lives today that in 10 or 15 years' time is going to look really stupid to people who are 10 years or 15 years old now? And that's kind of how I like to look forward into the future and think, well, you know, that's what the future looks like. How do we find a business, invest in it? How do you start a business that exploits that? And that to me is what about, you know, being an entrepreneur and, you know, starting businesses is all about.
Yeah, awesome. Valid point. So take us a little bit back about your journey before you started, you know, you're investor now. So take us back a few years.
Sure. So I started a telecommunications company, Vocus Communications. Started it in 2007. Sold my house, raised $1 million, grew that, listed it in 2010 at a grand value of $25 million on the stock market. And then 2016, when I left as CEO, it was a $5 billion business, one of the top 100 listed companies on the ASX. So I've been through like everything in 10 years. You know, I've been through like a whole person's career in 10 years, and come out the other side of that, and now investing in businesses, looking for people who were doing what I was doing 10 years ago, finding them experts in their field, people who want to change the world, people who've got a good idea what the world looks like in the future, and backing them, you know, and helping them. Because, you know, when you've been through a journey, it's really easy to share some of the things you fucked up or screwed up along the way. And, you know, most of the time I'm just teaching people not to make the same mistakes I made.
Yeah, and could you highlight some of those things that are very key to learn early on in the journey?
Yeah, one of the it sounds really harsh, but when someone isn't a fit in your organisation, is get rid of them really quickly. You know, for a long time I would just let people stay in the organisation after they were, you know, they weren't the right person. So, you know, one of the things is you just got to be, you know, sometimes ruthless, right? When you've got limited resources and you're trying to build a fast company, if someone's not working out, often the best thing for them and for you is to have an honest chat about it, and they either change and get on the program, or, you know, you agree to leave. Other things is just, you know, don't get so focused on your success. You know, if you start growing a business, you're like, oh, I've got $1 million of revenue this year. Next year you've got 2, and you think you're a hero. Always be looking for what could go wrong or ways to improve. You know, some people, when they get a little bit of success, you know, start really believing their success. You know, a lot of the time is look for ways and things that you're doing wrong rather than what you're doing right.
Yeah. So always looking for the right path, always making sure you're, you know, monitoring your journey
and working out where you can do things better. You know, life's constant improvement, so is business, right? Yeah.
Keep evolving, keep innovating.
Yeah, and my wife would tell me, you know, I should take that on my personal life. But
Awesome. And, you know, what advice would you give from an investor point of view to startups looking to pitch?
I think you've got to know your business. You know, if I ask you, you know, how many employees, how many salespeople do you need? It's got to be an answer that's factual. You know, it's like 3 people because I know that I can sign up 100 customers per person per month, and that leads me to break even. It's not, you know, as many as I can afford to hire. You know, like really understand your business and understand the plan, how you're going to get there, how much money you need, what you're spending on marketing, and just really try and be precise on all of those. It's never going to be right. but at least have a baseline that you work to. So know your business, pitch it well, be confident, talk about the reason you start the business. You know, a lot of the really successful businesses I've seen are people who see a problem in their day-to-day job and then go, I can do that better. You know, my day-to-day job, it's got 500 people, it's really efficient, it's got old systems, it takes forever to do stuff. I can go and start and cut out a niche out of that business and start that and do really well, you know, and just doing one thing for one customer really well. And you know, that's the type of thing. So just talk about your journey, why your business is going to do well, where you've come from, where you've screwed up in the past. You know, be honest, be confident, and know your business. That's the most important.
Yep. And do you think, for you as an investor, do you look more in the person, or do you do a bit of both? You know, the company.
You never invest in. I would never invest in a really good idea with someone I didn't think could execute.
Yeah.
But equally, I've backed people where I'm questionable on the business model, but I like them so much that I back them. So for me, it's 70% the person, 30% the idea, and the businesses you go really hard at when you invest are the ones that have both.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. And is there anything exciting on the lines for you? What are you working on?
I've got a really exciting investment at the moment. It's just listed on the stock market. It takes unrecyclable plastic and turns it into diesel.
Wow.
One of the most amazing things that nobody knows, and it's actually a bit of a scandal in this country, is when you put like plastic in the recycling bin, around a third of what goes in that recycling bin used to be shipped in a container ship to China and either buried or burnt. So this concept that you put something in the recycling bin and it actually gets recycled really doesn't exist for a third of what goes into that bin. So, I don't think that's sustainable. If you use the time machine analogy, if you go forward 10 years into the future, we can't be shipping all of the stuff we don't want to be buried in China or burnt in China. I mean, that's just pushing the problem onto someone else. Yeah. We think we're doing the right thing, we ship it to China. So this business has found a way to take the plastic that you put in there that's non-recyclable and actually turn it into diesel fuel.
That's crazy.
It is just nuts. So they've got a plant up in Berkeley Vale in Central Coast here where they did a trial, and I drove up there. We put a bunch of plastic in the machine, out came a bunch of diesel, I put it in my car and I drove back to Sydney on it. It is just phenomenal.
That's amazing.
Plastic coat hangers. I was driving on plastic coat hangers. So this to me is just going to literally go crazy.
Wow.
Now the big problem is Australia doesn't want it here in Australia because they don't like the process, they think it's bad for the environment. What's bad for the environment? Burning plastic in China or actually turning it into something useful here. It's far more green doing this, but not in my backyard. So they're now doing it in Amsterdam and in the USA. The first plant goes live in Amsterdam in November this year. So that's integrated green energy listed on the ASX. Really, really cool, exciting business.
That is pretty exciting, and the first time I've heard of that.
Yeah.
And wasn't there like a news article that came about a little bit of a fuel crisis happening in Australia?
Well, a couple of things actually. After the investment thesis that this dumping plastic on China can't go on forever, we were exporting 1.2 million tonnes in 2017 of non-recyclable plastic to be burnt or buried in China. That can't go on, right? Anyway, usually you think it's not going to go on for 10 years. In 1st of January this year, China banned the import of waste plastic. They're not taking it anymore. Right. So today it's actually piling up in transport depots. Councils are going to be putting rates up because they have to pay people to take this plastic away now. It's a real problem. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. And is it still going to be are we still sending our plastics to those Amsterdams and that site? Or?
No, unfortunately in Australia, I actually don't know how Australia's going to solve the problem. Okay. I think they'll find Indonesia or someone else who'll take it and pay more, and that will just push the problem further down the road. But Europe being Europe, I mean, they have a lot less land, they're far more environmentally conscious. So Amsterdam sent that plant up, and that's going to take waste from all around Europe and turn it into fuel, which as the trucks go by in Europe, they just sell them the fuel, off they go. It's again one of those things that's sort of changing the world a little bit.
Yeah. So why do you think there's that conflict with Australia not wanting to do that?
Look, it's the whole not in my backyard kind of mentality. I think in Australia we have so much land. We get a bit lazy. When I was a kid, every kid used to recycle. The amount of waste that a household produces in Australia has gone up 3 or 4 times in the last 15 years. We're just a little bit lazy. We've got lots of landfill, right? We've got lots of land. Whereas Europe, they don't have that problem. They are at the forefront of recycling waste and turning it into useful products, or gas or something that they can use in some other way.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a wrong mindset to have, really. When that problem does happen, are they going to pick it up?
Yeah.
So why wait?
Yeah, I think, it just comes down to mentality, I guess, is you want to stick a plant somewhere near some people's houses, they start kicking up a stink because they think, oh, there's plastic, this plant might be bad for the environment. They don't want it near their house. They talk to their politicians. Their politicians go, this is terrible. No one does any research. No one looks at it and says, actually, the amount of waste that's produced is like, out of 1 ton of plastic, 900 litres of fuel are made, and 1 kilo of waste is produced. It's so environmentally good, but look, that's unfortunately the way our system works here. They will come around. They will get built here, but they'll get built in Europe first, and once it's been there for 5 years, then we'll go, oh, okay, we better have it here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, James. And
pleasure.
I don't want to hold you up. And keep watching for more awesome live content coming to you live from Facebook.com/PhD Live. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Catch
Cheers.
ya.